beginning session 2 of the Mayhem campaign diaries. This session was actually a pretty, it was just as long as the first one. Actually it's slightly longer. It's 1:16 right now, so I'm hoping to get this finished and go to bed. The session, not actually a whole lot happened. There was only one day left of the entire marriage at Helmcrest, and we technically didn't get through all of that. Tristan the Bard decided to taunt the knight Sir Edenhog, who he knows is the father of the bride-to-be, and then afterwards decided to leave the castle and go stay at the Quickest Dwarf again. He was followed by pretty much the entire party, except for Suri, who stayed behind with Eileen. Now, this actually took me not necessarily by surprise. I knew it might be a possibility. I didn't think the party would be split in such a way where there was only one person left in one group and then everyone else was with the other. Essentially what happened was I needed to divide what would have been one assassination attempt into two in order to keep things interesting for all the players. As you see behind the scenes, basically what happened was Sir Edenhog and Sylvie, the bride-to-be, needed to silence the only two people they knew who knew of the infidelity that was going on, basically. I guess it's not infidelity because they weren't married yet, but who knew of the lie that they were trying to put together. So they were going to have hired thugs and bandits basically kill, and also a relative of Sir Edenhog, kill Tristan, as well as kill Eileen, Sylvie's own sister. Now, because Suri has been being played kind of as a innocent child, that was actually rather interesting. I decided that as far as everyone knows, she's just a child, and so only one person was sent to take care of her, and Suri was actually able to handle him by herself and protect Eileen. Whereas back at the Quickest Dwarf, a group of 6 attacked the group, hoping to kill Tristan, and that did definitely not go as according to plan. For this session, we actually had our 5th player, Trace, was actually able to show up. He's playing another tiefling, only he's going to be a fighter. He is a former member of the Rogarvian military, the Fanged Legion. After the Rogarvian family disappeared, the Fanged Legion became sort of just a mercenary company, and he wasn't very happy with that. So he took one last job from them and decided he was going to leave. He's currently hunting down Samuel Hogg, the relative of Sir Edenhog, and he tracked him down to near Helmcrest. That was just what I had in order to tie him in. He kind of showed up towards the middle of the session, so I had to. I didn't just want him to sit there. I wanted him to be a part of everything, so I needed a reason for him to be at the end, and that worked. Although I kind of decided on the fly whether or not he was going to find who he was looking for directly at the inn, or if he was going to have to go back to the castle for it. Instead, I decided Samuel would be at the castle, where waiting to kill Suri and Eileen. As I said, Suri managed to take care of the one bandit that had gone after her. I had a really good time with, because I got to give him a fun accent. He was kind of talking like this. It's like, oh, I'm here to play, that type of thing. It was just real silly, real fun. I got to get a bit more comfortable GMing for this new group of players, and I think it also helped them get in character too, seeing me go in it. I also made sure to actually use my camera this time that we were GMing so that they could see me. I don't know if my facial expressions or anything helped at all. But I do think seeing who you're playing these games with really does help you get more immersed in your character. Meanwhile, at the Quickest Dwarf, they managed to kill all of the bandits, save for one of them, who they got information out of, and learned that the new tiefling, 6'5" tiefling's target, Samuel Hogg, was actually at the castle there to kill Eileen, and they all bolted for the castle as fast as they could. I told them that it was typically about a 30-minute walk, so they were looking at a 10 to 15-minute run to get back there. I didn't tell them at the time that I had kind of been running the two things not perfectly synced up, because I wanted to build the suspense, which actually worked, because Mary was terrified that they weren't going to make it and that Sui was going to die. I knew that everything would be fine, but I still wanted the suspense to be there, just just for effect, and I think it worked out quite well. In the courtyard, Suri and Eileen discovered that many of the guards had been drugged and they were all passed out. And it was then when they were found by Surratt and Hogg and his cousin Samuel Hogg. Suri told Eileen to run while she stood in front of the gate to hold off the two men. And it very nearly was the end of her. I think she was taken down to 4 hit points before Sir Kevin actually came out. I described that he was just in his small clothes and that he had his sword, but he was also still kind of sluggish, so clearly whatever had been used to drug the guards had been used on him, but it hadn't taken complete effect, or he'd managed to shake it off. And his first attack was actually a critical, so one that he did, I think, max damage on Sir Samuel. So he was really the bigger threat. He was the one wielding a great sword. Surratt just had a long sword. It was at that time Eileen had already ran off, and Surratt ran after her, and then Suri and Kevin basically they kept Samuel in between them, and I described how basically he was clearly not good at fighting more than one person. One of them would lunge in to get an attack, and he would dodge them, but then the other one would take that moment to attack wherever he was open on the other side. And they were basically just whittling him down like that. It only lasted a few rounds until I think Suri ended it. I don't think it was a critical. I actually think she just managed to deal exactly how much health he had left. And I described how Sir Kevin basically cut the back of his knee so that he fell down, and then she was able to jump up and drive her dagger into his eye socket. It was kind of funny afterwards how I described that her dagger was stuck in it. She couldn't get it out. After that, they were all able to meet back up. They woke up most of Helmcrest, and they started to unravel exactly what had happened. Sir Kevin also asked them for their counsel. I don't think as a group that they are too interested in the politics of the universe that they're in, so I don't know if I'll lean too heavily into that. I don't think they get much enjoyment out of it, and I don't think they care. I don't want to keep trying to force something that they don't like, which is a shame. I really do enjoy running some politics in a game. After the session, I introduced them to another set of homebrew rules I have called boon points. In place where I don't run experience, I use milestone leveling. I have a little chart that I found on Reddit for boon points. Well, actually, no, I didn't find it on Reddit. It was in a session that I got invited to. Whereas at the end of each session, you're awarded a single boon point, and then each player is able to award another boon point to another player. And according to this chart, you have a variety of different things that you can actually spend them on. The simplest thing is to spend 1 boon point to re-roll a death save, and the most expensive thing you can do is called actually, which basically lets you re-describe a scene that your GM is doing within reason. I've never actually seen that used. I don't think it would be too terrible, especially if you manage to save up 100 boon points. That's at least like 50 sessions if you're only getting 2 a session, which could be pretty fun. They were also all very ecstatic about it and seemed very interested in getting to use these. They all really liked the idea of them. And I find that if you're not using experience points to level up, giving them boon points also the players don't typically then start continually ask, like, oh, are we leveled up yet? Oh, are we leveled up yet? Because now they have something else to track that doesn't require them to level up. All they need is a session. And I think that is really effective and helps with more immersion if you're not always wondering if you're going to level up after the session. Now that I've got a really good feel for how they operate as players, as well as who the good role players are in the group, who I can kind of get them, the ones who don't say as much, how to get them to kind of bounce off the ones who do. I think I'm getting a pretty decent good feel for this. I've got a few ideas for what to prep for next session. I'm hopefully going to give them several options that they'll be able to I told Trace, his character, that since he had taken that last contract, he would need to take the body back to the capital of New Stettin, where, and no one seemed to be bothered by that, and so by going to the capital, I can throw down all the different plot hooks I might need to, and it won't seem out of place at all, so it should all work quite well. But only time will tell for that, so let's see what happens.